Erev Tov, Rabotai. Let's talk a little bit about the Mitzva of Yibum. The Torah says like this, right? If there's a person who's married and he didn't have any children, he wasn't zochet to have children, and lo aleinu, he died. So what happens is, right, if this guy has any brothers, the Torah says that the brother now should marry this woman, do yibum with her. This is the thing. It's a mitzvah from the Torah, So a person cannot just say, I don't want to do it. What do you mean you don't want to do it? You have to do a mitzvah. So what's the choice? How is this done, right? So as we said, right, if the brother is available, and he wants, he wants to get married, he's already the age to get married. He's not a child, right? He's already grown up. Right? So it's a mitzvah for him to do yibum for this woman and take her. If he doesn't want to do yibum, what's the other choice? Chalitza, right? What does it mean, chalitza? That you do a ceremony where, right, the woman comes and takes off the shoe, and spits in front of him. It's a whole, this whole thing there. And this way, he displays, right, by doing the ceremony that he doesn't want to take her. And now she's free to go marry another man if she wants. She doesn't have to anymore wait for him. Whatever, right? So if he doesn't want, he does chalitza. That's the way it works. But if he didn't do chalitza yet, this woman cannot marry somebody else. She's attached. She has a zikah. That's what we call it, right? He's shomeret yavam. She still has a connection with the brother, so she cannot marry somebody else. And if she does, it's a big sin, because she's like connected with him. So there's no way for her to marry somebody else without doing chalitza. And this applies also today. Some people think, well, today, it's different. Things are different. No, nothing is different. If you have a situation like this, where somebody died without children, they have to do or yibum or chalitza. Interesting thing is, the Ashkenazim nowadays they don't do yibum anymore. They stopped doing yibum already a long time ago. They don't do. So they always do. If this situation comes up, they always do chalitza. That's the way it is. There's no choice for them to do yibum anymore. There are reasons for this. I don't want to get into it now. It's a whole discussion, but they stopped doing it. But we Sfaradim, we never stopped doing yibum. The truth is, we never stopped. We don't have this custom. So therefore, if you're a Sfardi, I know that in the Persian community, they used to do yibum. Even nowadays, lately, they did yibum. So it's still a mitzvah to do yibum. It says in the Yalkut Yosef, that the question is like this, right? What's preferred? What's better, to do yibum or chalitza? Shulchan Aruch says, better to do yibum, because you're doing the mitzvah. Chalitza is not the preferred thing. Chalitza is only if you don't want to get married, or there's no way to marry this lady for some reason. For some reason or another, there's no way. So then you do chalitza. That's the way it works. So for us, the Sfaradim, that we go like the Shulchan Aruch, even until this day, it says Yalkut Yosef, better to do yibum, if you can. So now let me ask you a question, right? But we have some problems today, right? As we discussed yesterday, right? Nowadays we don't take more than one wife, So if this guy's already married the brother, can he now do yibum with this lady? So according to the Torah, he's going to have now two wives. Right? Can he do it? So according to the Torah, yes, of course you can do. No problem, right? There's no problem. But the problem is, today nobody has two wives. So therefore, if you go to the Beit Din today, and you're married, they're going to tell you, do chalitza. Don't take a second wife if you're already married. No good. We don't want this, this business. Right? As we said. So they're going to tell you to do chalitza. But if you're not married, you're single, you still haven't married, and this girl is suitable for you, she's attractive to you, whatever, right? And you want to take her, so it's a mitzvah to take her as in yibum. How do you do yibum? How do you do? What's the procedure? I'm sorry?
You have to marry her.
How do you do it? How do you do yibum? So, right, it says in the Torah, Yebama yavo aleha. So you take her by having relations with her, sex, that's what it is. That's how you do yibum. It's not like, chuppah, or something like this. Like you take a regular wife. It's just relations. Sexual relations. That's it. That's all you do. And when you have relations with her, she's your wife now. You're married. That's it. I'm sorry.
Without marriage license, you just
Yeah, there's nothing. There's no, I mean, if you want to go to City Hall, you don't get a marriage license, That's not going to help you.
But you don't do kiddush?
Kiddushin.
You do
We're gonna talk about this in a second, right? About this, but from the Torah, it's just sexual relations. That's it. Nothing else. Yabama, yabo aliyah. That's how you do yibum.
Rather, she still has the ketubah from your brother.
I'm sorry.
She still has the ketubah from your brother.
So if the guy, right, as we said, right, the brother died.
Right.
So he's asking about the ketubah, right? What happens with that, right? So the truth is, when a person dies, that ketubah is already finished, right? But the thing is, they have to do now new ketubah. But what you're saying is correct. What does that mean? The ketubah, the money comes from the money of the husband that died. It comes from his money, the money that he left over, the assets that he left over. The ketubah is going on that. It's going on that, and that's not going on the second guy, right? The brother. It's not going from him. The ketubah. Why do they do it this way, by the way? It comes from the first husband, the ketubah. You know why? If you think about it, why not from the second guy? He's the one who's marrying her right now. But the thing is, you got a good point there. That's a smart guy, smart. Chacham.
For your own benefit.
Right. So you know what it is? Probably the reason, he's right what he's saying. Probably the reason is because if the second husband, right, the brother, is going to have to do ketubah, he's going to say, I don't want to give my money. He's cheap, He's, come on, give me a break. Now I have to give another ketubah? So they tell you, don't worry, brother. The ketubah will come from the first husband. You're good, it's okay. Nothing is going to come from you. So he's going to say, oh, okay, then it's good. It's okay, He's going to be okay with that, right? It's about money, It's the whole thing, right? So that's why they say the ketubah comes from the first husband. His money. That's the thing, right? From his assets. Whatever he left over. Now here's the thing, right? Question is, what is the reason why Hashem gave us the mitzvah to do yibum? Why? What's the business? What is this thing? What's the purpose of it?
Most likely this type of Yibum already was in that generation.
Yeah.
So we adapted it because it's Rachamim.
Right. So here's the thing. You know what it says in the Torah about yibum? The reason why we do yibum, it says because the name of that deceased husband, right, the one who passed away, is going to be called on the child that comes, the new child. They're going to call him his name. So what does this mean? What name? What difference does it make if I call him his name or some other name? So it says Zohar Kadosh, the whole thing is like this, the problem is like this. When a person dies, and he didn't do mitzvah pruvu, so what happens is, that this guy has no chelik in olam haba. If a person was not zochet to do pruvu, and no chelik in olam haba. He has no portion in the world to come. That's why a person is so important, to get married and to have children. Otherwise, what did you do in this world? Ba'olam hazeh. What did you do? You didn't have children? You didn't get married? Ay. It's very important to mitzvah pruvu. They say whoever didn't do pruvu has no chelik in olam haba. Where do we learn this from? From Chizkiyahu Melech, right? Hashem came to Chizkiyahu, Ishayahu Navi came to him, told him, he said, listen, he says, what's with you? You're already old man, you didn't have children yet, So he says, listen, you're going to die in Olam Hazeh and also in Olam Haba, you're not going to live. You know why? Because you didn't do pruvu, shame on you. That's what he told him. So he cried, to Hashem, he prayed. He says, please, give me another chance. I'll find a wife, I'll get married now. Don't worry, I'll get married. Just don't take my life. That's what Chizkiyahu told to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He prayed. So, I'll ask you a question, by the way. Why didn't Chizkiyahu get married? What, he was Chiloni? What, he was secular? What was he? Was a bachelor? What, the playboy? Why didn't he want to get married, Chizkiyahu? Tzaddik like him, he was big tzaddik. He brought everybody to do teshuvah. Big tzaddik like this, big chacham. He was big chacham, big melech. From David HaMelech he came. He doesn't want to do pruvu. Why not? Why not? What's the reason? So it says in the Gemara, the reason was because he knew from Ruach HaKodesh, he heard that his children are going to be bad. He's going to have bad children. Rashaim. So therefore, this is the reason why he didn't want to get married, to have bad children. He didn't want to have a Rasha as a child. By the way, who was his son? Came out anyway, Rasha. Who was it? Who was? Menashe, right? He was Rasha. So it came out like just like that, whatever he was afraid of. But Hashem told him, what's it to you? You do your thing, and you your mitzvah, and Hashem, the rest is up to Hashem. What's it your business? Don't make cheshbonot like this. That's what he told him, Kadosh Baruch Hu. So he did it, he did the mitzvah. Baruch Hashem, so pru'ubu, so that's the thing, so that's why we do yibum. Because if a person didn't do pru'ubu, he has no chelek ma'amba. So therefore, what we have to do now is this guy died without a child. He has no chelek ma'amba. So we have to bring him back in a gilgul, again. So now he can have a child again. So this is what happens. When the brother does yibum, the child that he has is going to be a gilgul of this guy who died, the brother.
Question.
You understand?
Right.
Yeah.
Regarding this name, reading Torah, I didn't find anybody called anybody second Abraham or second Isaac or second Yaakov.
What does that mean, second?
I mean, nobody put the name of the kids in their, grandfathers.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying, even Yehuda, when he had a relation with Tamar, but kids got too.
Yeah.
They didn't call them or Ir or whoever was second one.
Okay.
They didn't call in their
Yeah.
name, they called different name.
Right.
So there is a problem.
Yeah, it's a good point what he's saying, right? It's a good point. But the truth is, that this is not really the pshat. The pshat is that it's going to be a gilgul of the same. His neshama is going to be the same. That's what it means. Same name. You understand? It's going to be the same neshama. You don't have to give him the same name. This is not the pshat. You understand? We don't give them the same name. What it is, it's the neshama is the same neshama. That's what it is.
If you remember,
Yeah.
what his name, Cain had son, first Hanok,
Yeah.
and then Hanok, another one after two
Right.
generations was born, God took him right away.
Right.
He doesn't want to, get...
Right. But that was, but these were goyim, we're talking about Jews, right? These are goyim, that's something else. Okay, whatever. But anyway, right, let's get back to our discussion over here. So that's the whole thing, A person he didn't have approval, so that we want to bring him back. Now we can do tikkun, and have children, do approval. This is the reason why we want him to come back. But the problem is, that if his wife didn't do yibum, that means he has nowhere to come back. He doesn't have a place. Elo makom. And this is very hard. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu has to give him another tikkun, a different way. And it's very hard to find a tikkun like this. Even for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it's hard for him to bring him back in a good place, So this is the whole thing, So yibum is a very important mitzvah. So now let me ask you a question, right? We said the mitzvah of yibum is on the brother. So what about with the whole, the book of Ruth, right? Boaz, came, right, and took Ruth, right? But Boaz was the brother of Machlon and Kinyon? Was he the brother?
Uncle.
No, he was uncle, yeah. Oh. So why did he do this mitzvah? For what? What? Huh?
He could bring somebody from King David generation from Judah.
Right. So the reason why they did the mitzvah like this, in those days they had a minhag, that if there was no brother, somebody else would come and do it. That was the thing, a relative would come. That was their minhag in those days. But it was the same thing, they were returning the neshama of the person who died. So what happened was that when Boaz took Ruth and he had a son, so now the neshama Machlon came back, as a son of Boaz from Ruth. This is what happened. So they did the same thing, but it wasn't the brother. So
Husband's soul came back, the Machlon.
Exactly right, Machlon, yeah. But what about Kilyon? Kilyon, his wife was Orpah, right? Orpah, she didn't convert to Judaism. She went back to be a Goya. So what happened with Kilyon? Kilyon never came back. Never came back. So right, the Chazal say, right, it's in the name. Machlon, right, it's Mechila. What does that mean? Hashem forgave him. Why? Because he came back, in a Gilgul. But Kilyon, what does Kilyon mean? Destruction, right? He was destroyed because he had nowhere to come back, no place to do yibum. This is the whole thing, So they say, by the way, that Kilyon had a big problem, as we said, right? Nowhere to go. So Kadosh Baruch Hu, what happened? He came back. You know where he came back, Kilyon? They say that when Shaul Amelech, was having, these crazy things in his head, he became crazy, right? Shigaon. He became nuts a little bit. He got some nuts in his head. So there was a neshama coming and bothering him, making him crazy. Whose neshama was this? It was a neshama of Kilyon. It was a neshama of Kilyon. So Kilyon had no place to go. So he came and he stuck to Shaul. Understand? Because he had nowhere to go. The dibuk, yeah, exactly. Dibuk, exactly. That's it. Dibuk. This is dibuk. So why is this? Because a person who didn't do pruvu, right? What happens is his neshama floats around the world. Right? We call that kafakela, right? It floats around. There's no way to rest. So he was looking for a place to rest. So he found Shaul. Why? Because Shaul sinned, and because he sinned, right? The bad neshama came to him. Baruch Hu punished him like that. Understand? This is what happened. So you see, right, how important the mitzvah of Yibum is. If you don't do Yibum, sometimes the neshama of this brother who died, lo aleinu, he has nowhere to go. It's a very big problem, Baruch Adonai le'olam, amen amen. Rabbi Chananel ben Kashomer, רץ הקדוש ברוך הוא לעשות ישראל, לפיכך חיבר להם תורה ומצוות שנאמר חפץ, למען צדקו יגדיר תורה ויאדיר.